Business leaders and intellectual business community, we are entering the third segment of our discussions today, 4 classic traps of innovations. And we are still with Dr. Patel, the director from Center for Innovations, Excellence and Leadership. So, Dr. Patel, back to my questions that, program innovation strategy usually creates, we call it incremental innovations rather than breakthrough innovations. Those products with breakthrough innovations usually come, most of the time comes from what we call it serendipity actions. Yes, something that we didn't expect to be like that. Like we talk about Viagra, that the Pfizer was looking for medicines for heart problems and found out that this substance have side effects that is even more marketable than the heart disease medicines. So what do you think, Dr. Patel? Is this program innovation strategy can also, create a breakthrough products?
Yeah. I would like to believe that we are progressing into that direction. I mean, 20, 30 years ago, there was no R&D even. So R&D was a new management science for businesses. And R&D was then invented to help your current product and your current processes to make them cheaper, better, and they were incremental. But over time they realized that if they wanted something which is different, they had to listen to the customer. So they brought marketing into the scheme with R&D, and they integrated the two together, and they called that innovation finally, because it was marketing and R&D working together. And when they did that, they began to get new ideas about what customers might need, and therefore it was a little bit more than incremental. Later on, they realized that still, because of the force of strategy and the force of focus, what was happening is people, as they tried to do things which are different from the company, they were being pushed back to stay on target, on core. And so they would be forced back. So that didn't work, and they observed that innovations were coming from the outside, from small companies, or from overseas, which they were getting surprised by. So then they said, look, we need to go advance further. So today's management science on innovation says, let us understand trends, because trends are going to tell us what the information is going to be in the future. Let us talk to multiple diverse voices. Let us look at people who are doing things different from us and integrate those into new ideas, right? And when they do that, they begin to come up with future ideas which can create breakthroughs. It's happening in beverages, it's happening in cars.
Can you give an example of that?
So, for example, a beverage company which I've worked with, they made basically a cola. And they realized that those Coke was going to be the next tobacco. Because in America, people are getting fat. And as you smoke cigarettes, people were suing the cigarette companies. Coca-Cola felt, or Pepsi felt, that they would be sued one day for actually making people more obese. So the idea was, now if that was going to be the future, what can we do with beverages to replace those unhealthy beverages? And the trend showed that women wanted beverages which made them look better. They were looking to get drinks for the kids, which were both fun and healthy. And that's what the trends were promising. And so today companies are making beverages which are going to be integrating health and beauty and fun to drink. Which is a new dimension of beverages for us. It may sound incremental, but the benefits which are in here are now nutraceuticals with a regular beverage. So we're seeing changes occur. One other point which you made was important is, yes, innovation breakthroughs are serendipity. And they will always be. Because when that happens, you'll go, eureka. The reason you say eureka is because it is completely different than what is going on. So we do expect the surprises, but we can create the environment to create more of the surprises. And that's what innovation management today is doing.
Yeah, if we read the Akio Morita books, he said that actually you don't have to listen to your customers, because customers might not know about what product they expect. So, I mean, very clearly, Akio Morita really emphasis on the breakthrough products from the product side, then you offer to the customers, rather than you look for the customers what they need and then you create the products. Which approach do you think is better according to you?
Yeah, I can't make the choice. I think they're both needed. There are times when you got to look at the customers, observe the customers, and see how they interact in the environment, and from there you can get a hypothesis. So, observing customers is typical for marketing companies like P&G. But on the other side, there are companies like Motorola, Intel, and technology companies, which are so far ahead in their thinking of what they're making, and that they're thinking of applications that customers have not even imagined. And when they've not imagined it, they don't understand how to even describe it or how they would interact with it. So when we were at Motorola, we asked people back in 1990 about the cell phone. Would you use the cell phone? And the cell phone back then was this big, they were like a brick. Right? And we said, would you use this thing to talk, and would you pay $8 to talk to a minute to talk? And they said, no way. Why would we carry a brick, and why would we pay $8 to talk when there's a pay phone on every corner of the street for 25 cents?
Right.
But the people at Motorola had an intuition. They said, one day these phones will get small enough, and we are going to change the way we live. And look at the world today. Whether you are in India or in Indonesia or you are in Brazil, everybody is now talking on the phone. And I don't know what they did before that. They're on the bus, they're talking. They're driving a car, they're talking.
Yeah. But unfortunately, Motorola, who first invented the product, is not the market leader now.
Yes, no, and that's an excellent point, because companies are configured differently. Motorola is a company which is made of invention.
All right.
It makes markets. It's a market maker. It's the first to market in new ideas. So when it actually makes something, it makes a lot of money. And then the followers come behind them, Nokia's, the Samsungs, and then eventually overtake them. Motorola is not configured to compete.
I see.
Motorola is configured to play in a field all by itself. And when competition comes, it loses. Nokia, Samsung are configured to fast follow.
All right.
And they fast follow very well. And their innovation strategy is incremental, but it is always to overtake, never to imitate, as you said earlier on.
I see. I see. All right. So, Dr. Patel, if you read this article, Dr. Kanter said that the innovation team and budgeting should be treated separately from the existing business. Do you agree with that?
I think Dr. Kent is on target on this particular point. If you make a budget at the beginning of the year, and you say, I've got this much money to spend, and then you come up with a great idea in the middle of the year, and there's no budget for it, then that idea is going to starve for resources and help. And people will try and play with the budget to make it happen. So what we like to do is, okay, you need to think about budgeting, and you have to also think about investing.
Right.
And there should be an investment fund available when good ideas show up.
All right. But then again, business is all about, you know, at the end, at the bottom line, it should be profitable. And to make it profitable, then it means that the potential or the revenue is higher than the cost. And development could be treated as investment, but on the balance sheet or in the profit and loss becomes cost. So how should we judge whether the budget we spend for the innovation team is justifiable or not?
So I'm going to answer this question in a different way. The easiest thing a manager can do today is manage his budget, manage risk, and look at the bottom line for this quarter. That's easy things to do. That's what business school teaches every MBA, and that's the easy thing to do. The hardest thing to do is to become a leader. And the leader needs to manage the short term and the long term. A leader has to manage his budget and think about investing. A leader has to think about what you have to do today and what's next.
Yes.
Right? And that requires managing uncertainty and ambiguity. And that skill is not inherent in many managers today. And so when you talk about the bottom line, a good leader will keep the eye on the bottom line.
Right.
And invest to make sure there's something in the pipeline for what's next.
Yes.
Right. So if you ask me today, if you were to, how would I measure this? I would measure a CEO to say, what profit did you make this year? And what have you created in the pipeline, which is going to come about next year? Because you cannot sell the future to profit for this year. And this is the big issue about Six Sigma and innovation, where they begin to compete with each other when they shouldn't. Six Sigma is all about today, and innovation is all about the future, and they need to work close together, not one or the other.
But do you agree that innovation team also have to be evaluated in business sense?
Absolutely.
And how is the performance evaluations of the this innovation team should be if it is not if it's not based on budget?
Yeah. I think innovation has had a bad rep because of the issues of Xerox PARC at IBM, where they had the labs and people worked as if it was blue sky and they can do anything they want to, and one day an idea would come up and there would be a big business that comes out of it. That's not what I'm suggesting, that people should be given a free rein of what they have to do. But you do want to see them making progress, right? So did you identify a field of play which is attractive for your company for the future to go to? So can you go from healthy beverage, from regular beverages to healthy beverages? That's the field of play we want to go to. Did you create a pipeline of ideas and projects which can fit into that theme? Did you build partnerships with other companies which will allow you to get there faster? Did you get something to the market so we can look at prototypes? Have you got a customer who's going to come and ask for us? So you got to create those other activities which are the promise of what is going to come out of the pipeline.
All right. Before it goes to the financial terms.
That is correct. That is correct.
All right. So, business leaders and intellectual business community, please join us. Send your comments, your questions, your thoughts through this SMS with number 0896 times 788. And the participant who I selected will receive this book, Innovation to the Core, by Harvard Business Press. So, business leaders and intellectual business community, we have to break these sections, and we go to the last sections, the 4 sections after this break.